AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Halloween Podcast. I am your host, Lyle Perez, and you're listening to episode 59 of our special series, The Dark Record, where we uncover history's eeriest stories, one strange and unsettling case at a time. On two nights in April of 1977, in the quiet town of Dover, Massachusetts, three teenagers claimed to see something they could not explain. It wasn't a person, and it wasn't an animal. They described a pale, spindly creature with a bulbous head and glowing eyes. An image so strange that one witness swore his sketch of it on a stack of Bibles. The sightings, just hours apart and less than 2 miles apart, would become one of New England's most puzzling mysteries. The next entry into the dark record, the Dover Demon. Let's begin. On the night of April 21st, 1977, 17-year-old Bill Bartlett was driving along Farm Street in Dover, Massachusetts. The road was quiet, lined with old stone walls and trees pressing in from both sides. As his headlights swept across the rocks, he noticed something that made him slow down. Perched on the wall was a figure unlike anything he had ever seen. Bartlett later described it as small, no more than 3 or 4 feet tall, with long, spindly limbs gripping the stones. Its head was oversized and shaped like a watermelon, smooth and featureless, except for 2 glowing orange eyes that reflected the headlights. It had no visible nose, ears, or mouth. Bartlett said its skin looked hairless and pale, almost peach-colored, and its fingers were long and thin, wrapped around the rocks like tendrils. Shaken, Bartlett drove away, but the image haunted him. Later that night, he sat down and sketched what he had seen. He was so certain of its reality that when asked about it, he swore on a stack of Bibles that he hadn't made it up. But Bartlett wasn't the only one. Just a few hours later, 15-year-old John Baxter was walking home along Miller Hill Road, not far from Bartlett's sighting. In the dark, he noticed a figure moving toward him. Thinking it was a friend, he called out, but the figure didn't answer. As Baxter drew closer, he realized it wasn't human. It was small and pale, with a large head and long limbs. Alarmed, he stopped. The creature scurried down into a gully, where it crouched, staring back at him with large, glowing eyes. Baxter retreated quickly into the night. The following evening, another sighting came from Abby Brabham, who reported seeing the same strange creature sitting near a road with glowing green eyes. In just 2 nights, 3 separate witnesses had described nearly identical beings. When investigators plotted the sightings on a map, they formed a straight line over 2 miles, a path that suggested the creature had moved steadily through town before disappearing altogether. Cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman, who investigated the case, gave the entity its enduring name, the Dover Demon. With multiple independent accounts and consistent descriptions, the sightings quickly became one of the strangest cryptid cases in modern American history. When the reports of the Dover Demon hit the papers, explanations began to surface almost immediately. Some people believe the teens had simply misidentified a familiar animal in the dark. One suggestion was that Bartlett had seen a young foal, its head appearing large in proportion to its thin body. Others thought it might have been a moose calf, common in New England but awkward-looking when young. The long legs, pale skin, and big eyes might have taken on a more alien appearance in the glare of headlights. Another theory pointed to birds. Skeptic Joe Nickel proposed that the witnesses had likely seen a snowy owl. Under headlights, an owl's pale feathers could look almost skin-like, while its large, forward-facing eyes shine brightly at night. The creature's strange, motionless stance on the wall could also be explained by an owl gripping the stones. From a distance, in low light, the mind can easily turn something ordinary into something extraordinary. Other skeptics looked at cultural influences. Ben Radford suggested that the 1970s were saturated with science fiction imagery. Films and TV shows of the era, with their wide-eyed aliens and humanoid creatures, may have shaped how the teens described what they saw. Bartlett's sketch in particular resembles depictions of extraterrestrials that were already circulating in UFO culture. There were also those who suspected a prank. The sightings happened during April school vacation, a time when teenagers often played tricks to entertain themselves. The possibility that one or more of the witnesses exaggerated their experiences, or even conspired to invent them, was taken seriously by local police. Yet Bartlett, Baxter, and Brabham each stood by their accounts, insisting they hadn't fabricated anything. Still, the lack of physical evidence weighed heavily. No tracks were found, no fur or feathers collected, and no photographs taken. The entire case rested on the testimony of 3 young people, each certain of what they saw, but with no proof to support it. Without tangible evidence, skeptics leaned toward mistaken identity, cultural influence, or an elaborate hoax. But for others, the consistency of the descriptions was enough to keep the mystery alive. 3 teens, on 3 separate occasions, describing the same odd creature within hours of each other. That's harder to dismiss than a single mistaken sighting. And that tension between rational explanation and lingering possibility is what has kept the Dover Demon in the public imagination for nearly 50 years.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Even with the skeptics offering rational explanations, the Dover Demon quickly carved out a place in paranormal lore. Its description, thin, pale, with a bulbous head and glowing eyes, didn't just sound strange, it sounded otherworldly. To believers, this wasn't a foal or an owl. It was something closer to an alien. Cryptozoologist Loren Coleman was one of the first to investigate the case. He interviewed the teens, gathered their sketches, and gave the creature its memorable name, the Dover Demon. Coleman himself didn't argue that it was extraterrestrial, but he recognized how unusual it was compared to typical cryptid reports. Unlike Bigfoot or the Mothman, this creature wasn't tied to a long-standing folklore tradition. It appeared once in one town, over the span of 2 nights, and then it was gone. That rarity only fueled speculation. Some suggested it was an interdimensional being, slipping briefly into our world before vanishing again. Others linked it to UFO encounters, noting the similarity to the gray alien archetype popularized in abduction stories. Paranormal enthusiasts pointed out how the straight line of sightings could mark the path of a creature moving with purpose, almost like it was crossing through Dover on its way to somewhere else. The legend spread into pop culture. The Dover Demon was featured on Animal Planet's Lost Tapes, dramatized as a terrifying encounter in the woods. It appeared in comic series like Proof and the Perhapanauts. Online forums and paranormal blogs continue to revisit the story, debating whether it was an alien, a mutant, or something entirely unknown. Locally, the demon became part of Dover's identity. The Dover Historical Society even sold T-shirts featuring Bartlett's sketch, with the question, "Do you believe?" For many in town, the story is less about solving the mystery and more about owning a unique piece of folklore. What sets the Dover Demon apart is its brevity. So many cryptid legends stretch over decades, with dozens of sightings and elaborate hoaxes. This one is different. 3 teens saw something strange, described it with eerie consistency, and then it disappeared forever. No follow-up sightings, no photographs, no conclusive evidence. That fleeting quality, the sense of a brief window into the unknown, may be what makes the Dover Demon so enduring. When all the stories are laid out, the Dover Demon stands on shaky ground. No photos, no tracks, no physical evidence, just 3 teens and their sketches. To skeptics, that makes it less a cryptid and more a curiosity of memory, imagination, and circumstance. One of the strongest arguments against the demon's existence is how fleeting the sightings were. Each lasted only a moment, glimpsed at night in partial darkness. Bartlett saw it illuminated by headlights, Baxter in the shadow of a gully, Brabham at a distance near a road. Under such conditions, the mind can easily distort what the eyes perceive. The human brain fills in gaps, especially when encountering something unfamiliar. Then, there's the fact that no one else has ever reported seeing the creature again. Nearly 50 years have passed, and despite interest from investigators and paranormal enthusiasts, Dover has never produced another confirmed sighting. For a creature supposedly moving across town, there should have been tracks, droppings, or follow-up encounters. Instead, there was silence. Skeptics returned to the simpler explanations. A snowy owl perched on a wall could easily appear humanoid in poor light, its feathers pale, its eyes glowing under headlights. A foal or moose calf, separated from its mother, could startle someone walking alone at night. And the cultural backdrop of the late 1970s cannot be ignored. Movies and TV shows were filled with spindly aliens and strange beings. Bartlett's sketch bears a striking resemblance to the gray alien archetype that was already taking shape in popular culture. Some even wonder if teenage bravado played a role. It was April school vacation, a time when pranks weren't uncommon. Perhaps a joke spun out of control, or perhaps the thrill of attention made the teens double down on their claims. Yet, to this day, Bartlett, Baxter, and Brabham have never admitted to a hoax. Bartlett, in particular, insists he knows what he saw, and has never wavered from that position. So the Dover Demon remains suspended between 2 worlds. On one hand, a fascinating cryptid mystery with consistent witness accounts. On the other, a case study in misperception and folklore. Skeptics argue that what's most remarkable isn't that something strange was seen, but that it was never seen again. The Dover Demon may have only appeared for 2 nights in 1977, but its legacy has lasted for decades. In Dover, The story has become part of the town's character, a kind of local folklore that is both eerie and oddly endearing. The Dover Historical Society has even leaned into it, selling t-shirts with Bill Bartlett's original sketch and the words, "Do you believe?" What began as a frightening encounter for a handful of teenagers is now remembered with a mix of mystery and pride. In broader culture, the Dover Demon has earned a place among cryptids like the Mothman and the Jersey Devil. It has been featured on Animal Planet's Lost Tapes, dramatized as a nightmare lurking in the woods. Comic book series such as Proof and the Perhaponauts incorporated the creature into their strange menageries. Online, it remains a favorite in cryptozoology forums, paranormal podcasts, and YouTube documentaries. Its image, a small, pale humanoid with glowing eyes, has become an archetype of things seen in the dark. What sets the Dover Demon apart is its uniqueness. Bigfoot legends span centuries. The Mothman was tied to multiple encounters in West Virginia, but the demon appeared, startled a few witnesses, and was gone. That brevity adds weight. Because there are so few accounts, they aren't lost in a flood of contradictions or hoaxes. Instead, the 3 sightings line up neatly, consistent enough to be unsettling. Nearly 50 years later, the story still draws visitors and enthusiasts to Dover. The idea that something utterly unknown could appear in a quiet New England town, only to vanish without a trace, is powerful. It reminds us that mystery doesn't always come with fanfare. It sometimes slips in quietly, witnessed by only a few, and leaves behind just enough evidence to last a lifetime. The Dover Demon endures because it's less about proving a monster exists and more about the lasting power of a single unexplained moment. It lives on in memory, culture, and imagination, an enigma frozen in 1977, still asking the same question on every retelling. Do you believe?
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
What I find most haunting about the Dover Demon is how little there is to the story, and yet how much it lingers. 3 teenagers, 2 nights, 1 small town. That's it. No follow-up encounters, no blurry photographs, no elaborate hoaxes unraveling years later. Just 3 accounts that lined up closely enough to spark a legend. I think about Bill Bartlett swearing on a stack of Bibles that he hadn't made it up, and about the sketches he drew that same night. There's a sincerity in those details that makes the story stick. These weren't adults looking for fame or money. They were kids in the middle of a school break, walking and driving through quiet roads when they saw something they couldn't explain. Whether it was an animal, a trick of the light, or something stranger, those moments burned themselves into their memories. What resonates with me is how fragile reality feels in stories like this. We like to think the world is mapped out, understood, and predictable. But all it takes is one fleeting encounter to shatter that certainty. The Dover Demon may never have been real, but the fear, confusion, and wonder those teens felt absolutely were. And in a way, that's what turns an ordinary April night into folklore. For me, the demon is less about proving cryptids exist and more about the power of mystery itself. Sometimes a story endures not because it has evidence, but because it has the right mix of sincerity, strangeness, and silence. The Dover Demon remains unexplained, and maybe that's the point. The unanswered questions are what give it life. That brings us to the end of episode 59 of The Dark Record. We've traced the strange case of the Dover Demon, 3 teenagers, 2 nights, and a creature that has never been seen again. With no photographs, no tracks, and no physical evidence, the story rests entirely on the testimony of a few young witnesses. Skeptics point to owls, calves, or pranks, while believers insist the consistency of the accounts suggests something more. What remains is a fleeting mystery, one that has become part of Dover's identity and a lasting entry in the world of cryptid lore. Remembered, retold, and now added to the record. Next time, we'll leave the woods of New England and set sail on the open sea, where sailors have long whispered about a cursed vessel doomed to wander forever. We'll explore the legend of the Flying Dutchman. Until then, I'm Lyle Perez, and this has been the Halloween Podcast presenting The Dark Record. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps keep the show alive and weird. You can also explore sources, extras, and more at our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Halloween Podcast or at our website, thehalloweenpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. Keep your eyes on the shadows, and remember, some things that walk the back roads of New England were never meant to be seen. Have a good night.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.